Hi everyone, this is Nim Holkar. Welcome to the Achievers Lounge, where we bring you trendsetters and influencers from across the globe and share with you their amazing stories. Our special guest today is Sunita George, principal of Bombay Scottish School in Mumbai, India. I first met Sunita just a few months ago, but when we first met in Mumbai, the rapport was instant. And if I was asked to use 3 words or phrases to describe Sunita, firstly, I would argue that it's humanly impossible to capture the essence of her multifaceted personality merely in 3 words or phrases. But let's say I had to. Then I would say she's a pathfinder, a doer, and an out-of-the-box thinker. Sunita, thank you so much for joining me on the Achievers Lounge today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Nim, and I'm excited as well. Really great to connect back to you.
That's great. You know what's adding to my excitement, right? The fact that Bombay Scottish is my alma mater, where I did my entire schooling, as you know, all those years ago, which makes me even more thrilled to have you on the show. So thank you again, and let's dive in.
Yes, and we at Bombay Scottish are extremely proud of you, Nim, and the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so Sunita, I want to start at the very beginning, which is childhood. Now, many of us as kids, we've played this game, When I Grow Up, and we imagine all the wonderful things we are going to end up being. Now, when you were a child, did you ever imagine when you were playing this When I Grow Up game, did you ever imagine that you would end up being the principal of such an amazing school?
Not principal for sure, but I always imagined myself to be a teacher. So 4 sisters, and I have 3 younger ones. So when we used to play all the role plays, I used to be the teacher, and they used to be my students, and few teddy bears and all that would come around. So yes, teaching has always been there. Even when I was growing up, and when I was in class, I was quite good at mathematics, and I remember teaching a lot of my friends, and when they had doubts, and they would come to me, and I was quite good at explaining concepts to children, to friends, and sometimes they scored actually better than me.
Really?
Yes.
Because of the power of how well you explained it, I suppose, right?
One is that, yes. And also at that age, I don't think I was very aspirational when it came to, I did fairly fine in academics, but it was not something that I was chasing a particular score or a particular goal. I was more interested in a lot of co-curriculars like elocution, drama, music, dance. So
which really justifies what I said in your introduction. It's very hard to capture the essence of your personality, right? Because there's so many different hats you wear and so many things you're good at. Now, it's interesting that you said growing up, you sort of knew that you wanted to get into teaching. Now, I know that in your role as a principal, it is a challenging role. It must have its share of ups and downs, its share of obstacles and challenges. But what's that one thing about your job that you love the most?
I think interacting with children, because there's so much to learn, and every day is a new day. So that's one aspect. Another aspect that I really get excited and I look forward to is interacting with my team. So we are sitting together, when we are ideating, when we are thinking about new ways to make classroom more engaging, or designing worksheets, learning resources for the students. So that's an exciting part. Another aspect that I really enjoy, and which is very close to my heart, is interaction with parents. And especially when you're able to kind of collaborate with them and work with them to see something and bring out something good in a child. I think that is so satisfying. And I think these things that keep you going. So the totality of the whole thing, and the fact that I mentioned that even as a student, I was very interested in these so many activities, and as a school principal, it kind of, you get the opportunity to continue doing all that. You continue to be a student, you continue to explore, all these things. No other job, I think, gives you that kind of huge, amount of things that you're able to, put into your role. That is seriously exciting. I look forward to Monday mornings.
Oh, how nice. And that was an interesting thing about continuing to be a student, because I remember writing an article once where I said, you don't stop being a daughter just because you become a mother. So similarly, you
Correct.
don't stop being a student just because you've become a teacher,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So,
Right.
and interesting you mentioned about keeping students engaged. That sort of links me to my next question, which is about the traditional yardstick of success in the world of academia. And that's something I wanted to
Hmm.
touch upon in today's interview.
Hmm.
When I was
Hmm.
a child, I was not
Hmm.
very good at mathematics, unlike yourself.
Right.
I wasn't very good at maths. And back then, the traditionally subjects that were considered
Yeah.
traditionally
Yeah.
smart were maths and the sciences, the exact subjects that
Correct.
I was not very good at. Now, because
Correct.
I was not good at those subjects, I had this huge inferiority complex when I was growing up. I felt like I was not as smart as everyone else at
Hmm.
school. I felt like a failure. Now, interestingly, I was good at English, but that played no role in making my self esteem any better, because I was
Better.
constantly
Yeah.
berating myself for not being good at
True.
maths or the
Hmm.
sciences. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
know, since you and I were kids, have things changed where the yardstick for measuring academic success
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
concerned?
Yes, it has to some extent. We
Hmm.
still have a long way to go because what happens here is when we talk about the yardstick for measurements, it's not just the school which is, kind of setting expectations or setting benchmarks. It's also the parents. So if you have to change it completely, it involves all the stakeholders.
Mm.
uh, as a school currently, if I see what are the kind of things that we are going to change perception is our assessments, which is except for of course the board going classes or the high stake exams, they continue to be the way they are, but the exams which are conducted by the school or the assessments which we include a lot of elements.
Mm.
It's not just the written test or the summative end of the year or term end exams which define the grades of a child. So if you look at the assessments in the last few years, we've changed it drastically. So for
Mm.
example, if even if you're learning math, so if Nim, you were in the school today, and even if let's say you were not very good at math, solving math, but probably you would be doing a project with some of your friends where it would involve some amount of presentation skills, which
Mm.
also goes into your grading. So the assessment or the grades are not just defined by what the child writes in the paper, but it's also an entire year-long process. It's more comprehensive, it's more continuous, and it's more formative in nature. So a lot of like your, elocution, declamation, they've all become somewhere a part of the assessment.
Right.
So the assessment itself has changed, the way people think. Because
Mm.
if few years back when I was working with this organization where my the job role was to look at the curriculum and make it more engaging,
Mm.
and I realized that if I need to change the way things are dealt with in the classroom, I need to change the assessment pattern because that changes a lot.
Right.
So I feel even as a nation, if you want to bring about a drastic change in the way people are thinking, you have to first look at the assessment. Everything else will then people will align to it. So currently, the assessment pattern that we have includes a lot of elements which are there's almost 50% weightage on the other things which happen in the class, whether it's a classroom discussion. So we have field trips, we have projects based on that. So there's a lot of problem solving involved. There's a lot of collaborative work which the children are required to do. And
Mm.
especially now, it's even more exciting because now everybody's online. So they have this huge access to technology, which we are using this to kind of help children collaborate, understand, connect with each other, solve problems. So I think all those become, and if you look at the checklist that we have when we do these activities, that's again very important.
Mm.
So for every assessment we or activity we have a checklist. So if you are it's an experiment, then there are a lot of things which go into grading the child for that activity, the conflict resolution, how the child is operating and all of that. So a lot
Mm.
of these things get covered.
Mm.
uh, Apart from that, also, if you look at ourselves, I mean, if you look at Bombay Scottish School, Mahim in particular,
Mm.
we have been doing very well academically. We have 71% of our students this year who scored 90 and above. And we have, we've been consistently producing city toppers, and this year we second in the city. we've been in the top 3 or 4 in grade 10 and 12. And if you look at some of our children, they are also students who who are doing very well in sports.
Right.
They're on the field. So they till January, like if I look at my topper this year, she was practically on the field till January. And these exams happen in March, and she's aced it. And she's the school topper. She's second in the city now, and she's a team captain, sports team captain. So these things are possible only because there's an entire approach is more holistic. Also, a lot of our children pursue individual sports. So we have international, national level squash players. People are good at swimming. They're representing the country. We have national level rifle shooters. We have children currently. I have a student who's aspiring to get into F1. And she's doing 6 to 8 hours of training. So this is possible because the school is providing that kind of flexibility to the child.
Yeah.
So automatically the child is encouraged. There's a lot of remediation which happens if the child has missed the class. So a lot of one-to-one happens, and all of us are involved with these children, and we know what's happening with the child so that we are able to provide that kind of support. So I think that way, if you look at it, it's kind of, it's changing. Perceptions are changing. Also, when we do our sports day or, do felicitate other areas also, not just academic excellence. So there are children who are aspiring today to be in sports in future.
Yeah.
So that itself brings in a paradigm shift.
Absolutely. And like you said, it is possible for these children of today to explore other facets of their personality exactly because the school is supportive and is providing the resources to make that possible. Which makes me come to my next question is, can you share with our viewers some of the initiatives that the school has put forward, which deals with certain pertinent issues related to emotional and mental well-being of your students?
So one of the things that of course, we do have a counseling cell. We have counselors and special educators on board, and very, very dedicated, very involved. We also have, sessions which these counselors take with the children in the class, and which happens at a regular basis, apart from the assemblies or value education. And there are also sessions where we talk about how do you be assertive. We also do a lot of sessions with our children on digital safety. Personally, I drive this entire, because I feel somewhere ethics, when we talk about, we've always been grooming children in ethics which are offline, and now they're spending a lot more time online, and we rarely talk to them about digital ethics. So I do personally take these sessions with the children on media balance and online predators and trolling and gender stereotypes online. So there's a good support from the counselors. So they do take up these sessions, and if we identify that there are issues where somebody needs special attention, then we have one-to-one with the child. We have a center where the child interacts, the counselors interact with the children. Also, when you look at growing up years, I think after, let's say, grade 7 or 8, children connect more to their teachers. So there are a lot of teachers who actually act as, kind of counselors for these children. And if there are issues, they do share with them. So there's also constant sessions with the teachers to have that kind of empathy, and because things are changing. If you look, there's a lot more awareness today of not just mental health, but also about, learning disabilities and all that.
Yeah.
So these things are very correlated. So when I look at students particularly who have emotional issues, are a lot of times dealing with the academic issue. And when we, kind of go back to, when we get into it, we find the issue is somewhere else, and that needs to be addressed. So that we do a lot of review with the class teacher. So I, with my coordinator and the teacher, we sit together. We actually go student by student, how the child is doing, whether the child, it does take a lot. It's a very time consuming process. But we go through every child. And if we see that a particular child, a lot of discussions happen when we are doing the review meets. So the teachers do come up with, and they know a lot more, sometimes even more than parents, that what's happening with the child. So if at any point of time we feel a red flag, we do call the parent, we do talk to them that this is something we are feeling. At the same time, if you look at the general structure, it's a traditional setup. So there is certain amount of resilience, focus on resilience in children, which I think happens because you are, part of this big structure, and everybody is. You have to kind of class strength is about 40, so you do interact with a lot of children. So I think that way I feel the children become more kind of balanced, because if you look at today with nuclear families and just one kid in the house, a major issue that we today educators are discussing is that that the child becomes the entire core of the house. And because of that, when the child moves out of that comfort zone and is in a world where no longer the child is the most important person, the child finds it very difficult to manage. So I think if you look at our class strength, I feel is actually a plus. I personally feel there's a strength in that as well.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned words like resilience and the counseling sessions, etc., which reminds me that as a child, the urge to compare oneself unfavorably to one's peers is quite common. Okay, in terms of comparing yourself to higher performing peers, to students who seem smarter. So as parents and educators, Sunita, what can we do to help our children avoid being sucked into this so-called comparison trap?
I think one thing that we need to start acknowledging is improvement, or how well you've performed over your previous performance. I think that's a yardstick. So today, when we were having discussion for in the coming years, we do something called as Prize Day, where we felicitate the winners or the top 10 rankers. And we're looking at redefining this whole process on basing some percentage of these prizes for children who've shown a good improvement over what they did. So basically acknowledging the effort more than the result. I think that is something which is the core. You need to start acknowledging effort put by a child, whether it's in the classroom, whether it is as a parent. So child is working towards something, I think that needs to. So basically a growth mindset, you're supporting a growth mindset where you're saying that hard work is what gets acknowledged. So that I think will bring about, change in the way this whole comparison thing works. Another thing I also feel is it largely depends on the parents also, not just the school, but also because somewhere we have made our children, and I'm a parent as well, you're a parent, we've made them the center of everything. So my success or how well I am, or my parenting, I'm grading my own parenting skills based on how well my child is performing. So anxiety, somewhere I'm passing it on to the child. We're not letting them be, we're worrying when the child is 4-year-old, I'm already worrying about how to prepare the child to be a 5-year-old. Let him be 4-year-old, let him enjoy being 4 and worry less about preparing them for the next year. So there's so much focus in, and also somewhere it's understandable because we're also living in a country with large numbers and competition is huge. But the best is today, if you look at the world, there's a place for everybody, and there's so much diversity. There's so many things which children can do, which we had never imagined they can do. So I think parents have to start realizing that, and somewhere, don't set your aspiration with the child and say that, I have done so much for you and I've sacrificed so much for you. So now, I want you to get into IIT, or I want you to do this for me. I let them just be there and live in the moment. Teach them also to live and enjoy where they are right now. The process more than the, the goal.
Very true. In fact, that was going to be my next question, and I think you've covered a little bit of it already. But I want to ask you, the other day when we were having a chat over the phone, we had this very
Yes,
interesting conversation about how parents and quite often the mothers, give up their careers, etc., to stay at home so that they can look after the academic future of their children, and how in the process of doing that, they sometimes end up losing their own identity. And like you
correct.
said, because they sort of tend to assess their own parenting skills based on how well the child performs. And we
Performance.
also agreed that sometimes sacrifice can lead to unhealthy and unrealistic expectations from the children. So, did you also want to lightly touch upon that aspect of
Yes,
not losing one's own
yes,
identity?
absolutely, absolutely. I think somewhere, the general, if you look at, especially with, the current generation, if I look at the young parents today, the way they're looking at life is, okay, I work for a certain period of time, I live my life, and then I will get married and have children. So somewhere, the entire the way we look at children itself has changed. We, as you know, when I look at young parents, they have already decided, okay, I have had my life, now I'm going to have children. So
Mm,
they bring in the child with this whole thing that now my life is this child.
mm,
And in the bargain, they end up doing a lot of sacrifices. I have personally friends who were at the top, so to say, positions, and women particularly have given up their careers because they felt that the child needs them more than the job. uh, of course children are important and you need to give them you brought them to the world, so somewhere yes, it is your responsibility, but at the same time you cannot stop living your life because you are also your children are learning, they're observing.
mm.
And it is important for them to know that you as an individual, your aspirations, your goals, your life, your social circle is going to be different from theirs, and it will not and should not revolve around them. What
Yeah.
has happened today as parents also, if you look at friends, how mothers or even fathers to some extent, if you look at the friend circle, you have many of my friends are probably my daughter's friends' moms.
Mm.
So what happens is when you have that kind of a circle, then you kind of start comparing automatically because
Yeah.
they're both in the same class, they're probably going to the same school. So I look at, oh, she's got first prize in dance. Okay, so I need to train my daughter for dancing. And why did she not get? And
Mm.
we as schools are not just, I mean, generally you talk to any principal, any school leader, they'll tell you this. A lot of times these things even come to the school and they kind of question us that this one got and why, and my daughter was better or my son was better. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure on the child, especially now we're experiencing it because when we're doing online, we actually now reaching out to them at their homes. So we
Mm.
are able to see a lot more, especially with kids who are in grade 1, 2. We can see because, it's online session and the parent is in the room. So a lot of times I can see that the parents are getting anxious if the child is not answering.
Yeah.
So we had to send messages to parents that let them be, the teacher is trying to understand. So if you prompt the answer, it's not going to help the teacher to understand, how the learning is, how much learning has happened. So
Mm.
I mean, sacrifice, I think one has to, and it's not just with children. If you look at any relationship, the minute you sacrifice, you are going to set your expectations
Yeah.
because I did so for you. And particularly as a country, I think we have this entire setup where we bring children, we expect them, we have this thing that they will take care of us when we get old. So we
Yeah.
already have that expectation. But to be honest, when you take a baby in your hand and the baby smiles back at you, the baby has given back what, you know, you,
Absolutely.
and the joy that you get when the child is growing,
Yeah.
that itself is your reward. You
Mm.
should not expect anything. As a teacher, also, a
Yeah.
lot of times, not just parents, as a teacher, also, when I do for students, I shouldn't think back that, oh, I did so much for this child doesn't even remember me. They will, but they may not. It's
Mm.
not. If you are the kind who gets egoistic about these things, then this is not a profession for you.
Absolutely. And as they say, expectation is the root cause of a lot of misery, isn't it?
Lot of, yes, absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
the pandemic, the global pandemic has changed what
Right,
we considered normal
right.
once upon a time. There's this whole new normal that we're getting used to.
Correct.
Talk about how everything's sort of moved into the online space. Now, I can only
Correct.
imagine what a huge and a steep learning curve it must have also been for the teachers at the school.
Teachers, yes.
You want to tell us about a little bit about this journey where teachers are also
Yes.
to
Yes. Nim, personally, I was very excited about this whole learning process. I am somebody who believes that technology is the future and you cannot fight it and you have to live with it and you have to learn and you have to master it and use it. I also believe that technology has to be used to increase human connect. It doesn't decrease human connect, it increases human connect. So in a classroom, also, you can actually use technology to use your classroom time more for student engagement, more for interaction. And that's exactly what is happening. So when the lockdown was announced and, it was said that, okay, the students will not come from tomorrow. And we had 3 to 4 days, we had time with our teachers. So the teachers were coming for 2-3 days. So we actually very strategically planned. In fact, I think we are one of the schools which went very systematically about the entire online learning process. We took very baby steps. So first thing we did was we trained the teachers in smaller groups of 20 to 25 on what the learning is going to look like. At that point of time, we were not even sure. And some of the teachers, I'm sure, would be wondering that this is only a month or two. And even we thought this would probably last for a month or two. But I also looked at it as an opportunity to drive this entire new pedagogy of learning, the blended learning. I thought this was a great opportunity in this whole, thing. So we started training. We trained the teachers in that short notice, and it said that sometimes when you have a contingency, you cannot be democratic.
Right.
At that point of time, you need one vision, one idea, one concept, and that. So we said, this is what we are going to use. These are the 3 steps that we are going to follow. This is a platform we are going to use, and we didn't deviate from it till today. So today, if I look at, my team has become a master at using technology. While we're using Google Classroom and Google Meet, and I have been a front runner in kind of introducing Google, training people in Google, even in other schools and in different forums. But today, if I look at my team of people, I'm so proud to say that some of them have become so exceptional. All our meetings today, virtual meetings, end up in sharing new things that they have learned. So every day, a new tool that we are, getting introduced to. Somebody tried it this way, and then they share this. No, ma'am, this is worked. Okay, how did you do that? I'm sure today, while I started with the training, but today I have learned so much from them. So there's an amazing amount of, it's an exciting phase. It did take a lot from us in terms of time and effort. Teachers have really, really worked hard. We were up till like 7:38 in the evening for a next day's class. So even if the school is online functioning for 3 hours, our synchronized classes are for 3 hours, but the work which goes in from the teacher's end is 6 to 8 hours. And we're using this entire blended learning approach, where we are sending, the video and lessons and the learning material to the child. The child is supposed to interact, fill the form, and the teacher in the class has a lot of dialogue, a lot of classroom discussions. So in fact, I was talking to one of my grade 2 student, and I said, tell me one thing that you like about this whole thing. And he said, I'm liking the fact, ma'am, that the teachers are so close. In the classroom, they stand far away. So there's a lot more dialogue happening. And the fact that you have these names in the screen and all that, generally when a new academic year begins, the teacher takes at least a month or 2 to kind of know all the students. Here, this happened in a way because you can see, so the teacher's pointing out the names, and within the first 10 days, the teachers knew all their students. So the connect with the student is amazing. It's really exciting to see the way things are happening. Also, the collaboration. So we have very experienced teachers who are subject experts. And we have some new, young teachers who are probably more comfortable with technology. The way these two are collaborating, learning from each other, it's become a leveler. And another thing is, even during the sessions, I have seen where the teachers got locked out. For example, their connectivity was, and how the students took over. The seriousness with which the children are accessing today, because they have understood the work that the teachers are putting in, so they are also supporting a lot. I remember the other day the teachers internet connectivity was low, so immediately a student paged me, he said, "Ma'am, share it with me, I will run the PPT for you." you
Wow.
know
Yeah.
so that's the kind of, so the responsibility of learning has not now with the teachers, but it's also gone to the students, and that is the most exciting part. So I can really tell you, even the assessment, our assessments are going to begin on Monday, tomorrow,
Right.
and you have to redefine, because you can't write, so you have to go more with MCQ. Now, how do you make an MCQ so that it kind of, in Indian system we do a lot of writing, and
Mm.
suddenly that has changed. So even for the teachers to learn to kind of make those kind of questions which are analytical,
Yeah.
so yes, it's been great. It's been a great learning curve for all of us.
It's so heartening to know that teachers have embraced this whole new sort of digital space, which
Yeah.
is great. Now, you use a very interesting word, which I completely agree with. You called yourself a bit of a front runner where this digital initiative, etc., is concerned. And in the three
Yes.
words that I said at the start to describe, you have also said you're a pathfinder, an out of the box thinker, and a doer, which makes me think that you are one of the busiest people I've ever met. So that automatically brings me to the question of time management, because you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a daughter, and you're the principal of this amazing, busy school. Can you tell our viewers who are obviously at this very moment thinking like I am, how does she get it all done? Can you tell us a little bit about your secret mantra where managing time is concerned and getting everything done? What would you tell our viewers?
I don't know whether I can whether I can talk on this topic, because personally, I think I still have a lot to learn when it comes to time management. But yes, I uh, do a lot of work in the moment also. So,
Hmm.
for example, I believe in delegation. So, even in my like, if you look at my domestic, I mean, currently in the setup,
Hmm.
we have my children also have been brought up that way. There's a lot of responsibility that they take. So, for example, I have two daughters. One is 23, other is 13. So she's in school and she's in grade 8. So there is a very clear, subtle message which I have given to my children, that your learning, your schooling is your responsibility, not mine. So
Hmm.
some getting things ready, even if it meant that a little bit of they may falter, which is fine. So if, for example, I see that my child is not probably putting in as much as she generally did in the last exam or something like that, I do not confront it at that point of time. I let her kind of give the exams, and when the results come, and she herself will see that, and I will just ask her to compare, and then she herself realizes that, yeah, mama, I think I needed to work hard. So I don't micromanagement when it comes to the home front.
Hmm.
uh, and as far as the school work is concerned, uh, it's a lot of passion, so you don't get tired actually.
Yeah.
I had yesterday, I was with a friend and I got a call from a grade 11 student of my school, and my friend was very surprised. And my friend mentioned that, oh, do you, like, as a principal, you're answering? And this girl had a very, something which she wanted to ask me, and, something. And he was very surprised that how can you even interact with, every student, and you have 3,000 odd students. I said, but yes, most of them have my number.
Hmm.
But work doesn't tire me. It is my passion. So when you're passionate about something,
Yeah.
uh, will go all the length, and it only gives you more energy.
Absolutely. There's this old quote
That
which says that when you're doing what you love, it doesn't seem like work.
doesn't seem like, of course, then we do, I mean, your urgent, important, not so urgent, those quadrants, and while you
Yeah.
do have to kind of take a step back.
Hmm.
And if so, there are times when I feel that this part probably, is getting a little out of hand, because it's very difficult to manage everything.
Hmm.
Uh, so you have to take a step back and say, okay, I think this part needs more attention, and I now can delegate this part. So
Yeah.
you do have to do that reflection, and you have to prioritize. So today, if you look at my house currently, it's in a mess right now.
Hmm.
And I'm completely okay, because this is priority for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I think
And
you
I think
need to
knowing
start.
what to prioritize and where to spend your time, and knowing because like I say, being busy does not mean you're productive. They're two different things.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So I fully agree with you that prioritization is probably the key, and not micromanaging. That too is a big time waster many a time. Now, Sunita, we've talked a lot of heavy stuff, right? We've talked about academics and we've talked about the digital revolution, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's time for a little bit of lighthearted fun. So what I have is a section called No Time to Think, which is exactly what it says. No time to think.
Okay.
I'm going to ask a series of very quick, lighthearted questions, and you have no time to think. So you have to pretty much say whatever comes to
It's
mind.
one of those coffee with current kinds, huh?
Rapid fire questions, that kind of thing. So are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
English or maths?
Math.
Stilettos or flats?
Pardon?
Stilettos or flats?
Flats.
Yeah, you're like me. Social media, is it a boon or a bane?
Boon. Any day.
Boon. Okay. The one thing that can always be found in your fridge?
Tomatoes, I think.
All right, fair enough. If you had to pick one skill of yours, one skill that you considered your superpower, what would it be?
Change management.
Oh, nice. And my last question. When you write your autobiography, I didn't say if, when you write your autobiography, what would it be called?
Different, I think, dancing in different shoes.
Dancing with opportunity?
Yes, and dancing in different shoes. That's another passion that I have, and I love that. So.
Oh, nice. And I probably, if I had to name your autobiography, I would probably say She Did It Her Way.
Yes, I did it. I do a lot of
my way, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because you are a front runner and a pathfinder, which is amazing. Sunita, thank you so much. I've had such a great time interviewing you. I mean, I always have a great time chatting with you, but today this is a formal interview and I've had just as much fun, if not more. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. I'm sure our viewers, like myself, have learned a lot from you and I'm thoroughly inspired as always.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure and I'm sure we'll do this again another time in future.
Thank you so much, Nim. It was so lovely chatting. And like I said, it's always been great. We've kind of connected very, very well. And it was also a good exercise. I think sometimes you don't think. And when you ask these questions, a lot of these questions kind of are, make you reflect.
Yeah, and they crystallize in the mind. Absolutely.
Yes,
fabulous. Thank you again and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.